I think we're live, man. Welcome to the NXT review right here on Off the Script for Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. We're going to go over everything that happened, and we're going to come up with some nice creative decisions as far as what Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher did on last night's show with the NXT Tag Team titles right here for the NXT review on Off the Script.
This is mine.
Alive with people still didn't. Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is your NXT review for Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. And I am joined by Ticket Drew. What's going on, buddy?
What up, JD?
How did you feel about NXT last night? I put out a tweet on social media last night, watched the show after I got done with my Dynamite stuff. And I normally do not ever say NXT is bad because it would actually go against everything I believe in. But man, last night's show was pretty dull, pretty boring.
Yeah, besides a couple things that we'll get into, I thought the show was pretty dull as well. And I thought another week for AEW, they definitely won the week in my opinion as a wrestling product. So I guess we'll see what happens with the ratings, but I don't think NXT is going to beat AEW.
No, I don't. I think we're well past that. I don't even think there's a war at this juncture in the Wednesday Night Wars. I think it's all fabricated. I think it keeps all the social degenerates, with something to talk about while they're staying at home. But I know,
and I'm thankful for that. I am thankful for both companies putting out new television and new product.
Oh yeah, me too. It's just, it doesn't feel right, but that's common knowledge right now. But as far as what we found out last night, I know you are big, just like I am, on the old school. And the major talking point that we're going to go over today on the NXT review is the fact that WWE brought back In Your House. And it's the first time in 25 years that WWE is bringing back such an iconic event. Now, depending on who you talk to, I feel like who you talk to, some people did not like In Your House or what In Your House meant to the WWE Pay Per View calendar back in the mid-90s. But I have this certain love for In Your House, and I've always kind of missed it in a way. And to me, when I was growing up, and I don't know if you felt the same way, we always wanted WWE to be, on level with WCW. There was a time where WCW was just ahead of the game and WWE was playing catch up, and they went from a pay-per-view model, 5 pay-per-views, to 12, and the other ones that fit in between the major 5 were the In Your House pay-per-views. But I feel like with In Your House, it's vastly underrated. Some of the best matches in this company's history came out of In Your House, so much so that I actually, before I even hooked up with you on Skype today, WWE actually uploaded Hakushi versus Bret Hart at In Your House on the YouTube channel today. It's one of those things, man. Some of the best matches that I've ever found, that I fell in love with, came out of WWE In Your House. Shawn Michaels versus Mankind at Mind Games. Shawn Michaels versus Diesel at Good Friends, Better Enemies. The Undertaker, Mankind, I believe. One of them was at an In Your House pay-per-view. So many great memories. What do you feel about In Your House coming back and Triple H revising it in NXT?
Well, I think Triple H is a smart businessman, and everyone was complaining about, I believe there's a couple people who are actually using the In Your House logo for different things, and they got cease and desist, and this is why. The WWE is always planning things months and months in advance. I have a favorite match from In Your House, and it involves Shawn Michaels as the WWF champion against Mick Foley at Mind Games, Mankind. That's one of my top 5 matches of all time. I think the WWE is smart to bring this back. I think it's nostalgic. It hits everybody in the feels, especially myself. and all the the wrestling fans. And it's also, there's people who don't have any idea. Fans right now have no idea what an in your house is, so they'll be reintroduced to that. So I think it's fantastic. The only thing I don't like about this, JD, is why is this on a Sunday? That's my only problem. I like AEW and NXT's pay-per-views being on Saturdays, but I understand there's no WWE on Sunday like the main roster, but I would have liked to have kept it on a Saturday night.
Do you feel like NXT can't draw well on a Sunday night compared to a Saturday night like the old TakeOver model? And don't you think that WWE is maybe thinking that Saturday night, I mean, nobody's going anywhere nowadays, at least for the time being, but I guess it really doesn't matter now. But when they did it, I believe the first one that did it was TakeOver 25, and they went to a Sunday night. Or actually, no, I believe it was not even that going back that far. It was in Portland that they did it on Sunday night in February, and it ended up being great. I thought it was great. Everybody was raving about the show. Maybe more people, when things are normal, are watching wrestling on a Sunday night as compared to a Saturday night. That's why they moved it.
Yeah, I mean, that's very possible. What do you do? Are you a fan of the Sunday night NXT pay-per-views? Because they could always run them now if they needed to,
I'm actually more of a fan of the Sunday night pay-per-views than I am the Saturday night pay-per-views. I wish AEW would do Sunday night, but I like it because I'm a selfish prick. It makes my workload easier. I could get my work done and then worry about a complete standalone pay-per-view podcast on Sunday night where I don't have to, double dip or triple dip during the day. So, just because of my own selfish reasons, I like it on a Sunday night better.
The beautiful thing about Sunday night pay-per-views is it's something that you can unwind from the week and stuff like that, so I totally understand. Normally when NXT runs a pay-per-view on Saturday or a WWE event, network event on Saturday, I normally watch it early Sunday morning. There's a lot of things going on in my life that unless I'm at the building or I'm in town for that event, it's tough for me to get to or sit down and watch NXT on a Saturday night. But I agree with you. I think Sundays are cool, but I've always liked the NXT being different than WWE. And again, if they're not going to capitalize on having that old set in Full Sail, man, did they miss the boat on that one? I don't want
that was it's funny you said that. As soon as I mentioned anything about In Your House on Twitter, I seen NXT's tweet and I'm like, you guys got to be bringing back the old set. I mean, if the old set's not going to be there, then fucking scrap the entire pay-per-view, in my honest opinion. But I don't know what. Is it going to be just throwback in name, do you think, or is WWE going to make this a full-fledged production inside the Performance Center? What do you think?
Oh, I think it'll be a full-fledged production. I don't know if you guys all noticed this. I'm sure most of you did because a lot of your fans are very detail-oriented. But did you see those NXT logos in like the left corner of the building or the Full Sail? Those big inflatable, they looked like NXT letters. Did you guys see those?
I personally did not see it. No, I must have missed it.
Oh. Well, I mean, it was pretty prevalent, but I'm just saying I think that they're testing stuff, and I definitely think that they better not get we better not get a LED version of that In Your House. I want the house. Even if they take the small one that they did with Outlet, the Garden, all that other stuff. I believe it was Cold Day in Hell with The Undertaker and Austin. That's kind of the one I would like, just something like that. That's just the nostalgia in me that I would want to see that stuff. But I'm intrigued. When I heard DX do the announcement, I was kind of like, could they match? Could they have a match? Could they be a ref? Could they do something? Because they're going to have. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Todd Pettingale's back, or maybe Doc Hendricks. Michael Hayes still works for the company, so why not?
Yeah, Doc Hendricks, one of the worst names in WWE history. Doc Hendricks. That would be a nice throwback. I would absolutely pop for that. Todd Pettingale was. I seen memes and gifs of Todd Pettingale as soon as the announcement was made on social media. Todd Pettingale was probably trending the amount of times I seen him last night with this announcement. But I would love that. As far as DX announcing it, I mean, I kind of cringed a little bit. I don't know how you felt about it. I feel like DX and them being pushed when like a major announcement or like a reunion show happens is kind of overdone. I have no interest in seeing Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and the Road Dogg, reprise DX. Last night I didn't mind it because they were funny and they were kind of shitting on Triple H. I absolutely loved when Road Dogg was forgetful of one of Triple H's In Your House matches with Henry Godwinn. And he's like, I can't remember what happened then. And then by the end of the announcement, he was like, oh, that's right. Henry Godwinn dropped slop on you. It was this, it was that. So I found that to be incredibly hilarious. But you think they did the DX thing just for the major announcement, just to kind of pop a rating? Or what was that? Why couldn't it just be, a William Regal or a Triple H just by himself? Why did it have to be DX? You know?
Well, I think that's the burning question here is why did they have to do it? Now, don't get me wrong, all three of those performers had a match at In Your House, the first one in 1995. But again, that's a good question. That's a fantastic question. That's why I think sometimes with WWE and even AEW, there's more than meets the eye. Like, look at all that Sting talk. Now, is Sting headed to AEW, et cetera, et cetera? I think you and your buddy Jesse did a fantastic job on the AEW review of Dynamite, but that's a burning question. I mean, why are Triple H, Road Dogg, and Shawn Michaels doing anything with NXT, making any sort of announcements when realistically, I mean, if they were going to use them at all, they should have said that earlier so they could have popped the rating. So I don't think that was the intent. So I really don't know, to be honest with you.
Well, either way, I mean, there's a lot of questions around the In Your House concept now for TakeOver. In Your House was, I would say, somewhat serious, but somewhat goofy at the same time. The name is not something that people are going to immediately jump at and go watch and relive. It had a very short-lived history. Is NXT going to make it serious? Are we going to see this possibly be just a quarantine thing, stay-at-home thing? Is this something that WWE is going to do for the long haul and maybe reprise once a year as a nostalgia show? Or are they going to have it be, as we all know and love TakeOver, as a serious, intense show?
Well, I think the performers are going to dictate that. WWE could call this, backyard wrestling 7, and they would still perform. I mean, it's just a name. They're going for the nostalgia pop. They're going to get it. I'm going to tune in because I want to see the set, and hopefully they put together a good card. And I think what you got on NXT tonight is kind of leading into, the Timothy Thatcher and Matt Riddle seem like they're going to have a match, maybe a submission match, which is worth the price of admission just alone on that one. So, I don't know. I think the matches are going to really dictate whether or not this NXT TakeOver is something to tune in for. But you got to remember, I mean, I'm just going to tune in to see how they produce this. Are they going to have the old school In Your House ring aprons, the red, white, and blue ropes, all that stuff? Because I'm a sucker for nostalgia in that sense of the fashion. So I guess we'll have to see. But everyone who doesn't know, In Your House was a cheaper version price-wise from the big five, like JD mentioned. So hopefully they just take the model and add their own twist to it, which I think they will. And they're going to have far better talent than some of those In Your House cards.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What was it? What were the original pay-per-views back in the day? The first, they're like $29.99, $34.99, and then the In Your Houses were like $19.99.
It was $29.99. I think WrestleMania was like $49.99. But yeah, In Your House was $19.99. So in my household, my dad and my parents would just say, hey, you're allowed X amount of pay-per-views a year, that we're going to pay for. So, pick them out wisely. And I would have to do chores and all that other stuff. The only In Your House I ever ordered live on pay-per-view was Mind Games because the build for that was fantastic. And I take that back. And Final Four. Final Four was fantastic too with Sid, Vader,
Canadian
Taker,
Stampede as well is another one that sticks out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I missed that one live, but I'm just saying, so, yeah, the price point was there. My dad loved when I ordered In Your Houses because it was $10 cheaper. So.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, my dad did the same thing. But we have, I mean, just based off the show last night, it looks like we have somewhat of a I would say, not a full card, but almost a full card fleshed out for In Your House. We have Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Looks to be a new program starting on NXT television. Like you said, Matt Riddle versus Timothy Thatcher. That could be a match, or I guess whatever they want to do to build off whatever they did last night. We got Adam Cole possibly in a match with the Velveteen Dream because he was screwed over for the NXT Championship. We have, I don't know where the tag team titles fit in, but the one match I'm looking forward to, and they seem to pinpoint that last night and build on it, is Johnny Gargano versus Keith Lee for the North American Championship. Obviously, we got Tommaso Ciampa versus Karrion Kross as well. So, just by the looks of last night's show, it's shaping up to be quite the card. And I just got to factor in how Adam Cole's going to fit into all this. Does he lose the championship like we discussed last week to the Dream? Do they wait and have Kross take it from him over the summer? So a lot of questions yet to be answered, but shaping up to be a great card.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think that Adam Cole is due to lose that championship yet. I think he probably goes to, if they're going to have SummerSlam, I think that's where you have him drop the title and then get called up to the main roster, which as we've seen, has been very detrimental to a lot of this NXT talent. So hopefully they do right by him because he is fantastic.
Detrimental. Jesus, it's worse than detrimental, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous, man. It's like Vince picks and chooses. Like he'll pick who he wants, and then when they get there, he'll pick them out of a batch of like good and bad fruit. It's like, bro, you didn't even taste it yet. What the fuck you throwing it away for?
Yeah,
know?
but I mean, like you saw on NXT with the Karrion Kross, they have given him a full-fledged, promo, build, all this stuff. I mean, they've spent oodles of money on him. So just like Nakamura and Owens and Samoa Joe and Bálor, if they're going to spend money on you, they got big plans for you. And I think that'll be the difference. But I agree with you. A lot of this NXT talent has been lost in the shuffle, and major talent that's probably going to resurface on AEW, especially with the likes of like EC3 and all these other characters. So.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for it. And last night's show built upon In Your House. So we'll go over the show in just a second. But again, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here on the podcast. My buddy Jesse is texting me. When you get closer to your mic, your volume is way too loud. Okay. Say good thing. I don't know what the people in the chat are saying, but it's the same settings.
Jesse was trying to figure out what bottles I have behind me too. They're all tequila. That's Teremana Casamigos, and that is Casa Azul. They're all tequila.
Hold on a second. We can see my mouse pointer on the screen. What is he talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, that's that. See, this is what happens when we're live. Okay, Jesse, I fixed that. I'm too loud. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, man. Save me.
Well, I mean, what did your fans think of NXT? Did you guys have a bunch of hate towards it, or were you happy? I know I saw everything about AEW. It seemed like you guys really enjoyed that show. So what did everybody think of NXT?
I don't really know. From what I said, I posted something on Twitter last night that NXT was kind of a throwaway show. It built upon new feuds, but it was a throwaway show. I think people were kind of in the camp of it was kind of dull, but they just laid the groundwork for new feuds, so let it marinate a little bit, and then as we get closer to the pay-per-view, things will be better. That was the overall consensus yesterday on social media, so it is what it is, man. NXT's not going to have a blowaway show every week. They're good shows, they're decent shows. It's not like Monday Night Raw where I'm pinpointing 14 out of the 16 segments on Monday Night Raw are trash, and I like one or two things out of the show. Well, the same thing happens with SmackDown. They're normally good shows every week, but I feel like the empty arena shows are holding NXT back more than they are the main roster shows. Because the main roster shows suck, no matter if there's fans or not.
Right.
NXT needs the audience.
Let me ask you a question, JD. With everything they've done with Finn, Charlotte, and bringing guys in and out sometimes of NXT, they haven't really won many weeks. Do you think they just need to stop bringing main roster talent to NXT and just kind of build with what they have, or sign new talent?
I don't really want main roster talent.
It's not working.
No, it's not working. I mean, I've ranted about this for weeks, about Charlotte Flair being the NXT champion. She does nothing for the brand. I don't want to see her down there. I don't want to see her against anybody down there. I think she devalues the championship, believe it or not. That's just my opinion. I mean, the consensus is probably, she's enhancing the title. She's not, because by the time she feeds on everybody, it's going to be who the fuck is left for the next one in line to be champion. They did it because they want to try and combat AEW. They don't want to make it blatantly obvious, so they'll send Charlotte Flair down there. If they wanted to do it, Becky Lynch would be down there before the announcement on Monday.
They did that.
Fucking Seth Rollins or AJ Styles would be down there. Daniel Bryan would be down there. They want to make it blatantly obvious, but we know why they do it. And a lot of people, I think, are waking up to the fact that WWE is, doing what they want, but they also got AEW in the back of their mind, and they act like they don't. That's the problem.
Yeah, this whole thing didn't need to happen, though. I know it's here, but NXT didn't need to go live against AEW on Wednesday nights, et cetera, et cetera. They could have picked a Thursday night. They could have stayed on the WWE network. I mean, if you're going to go into a full-fledged war, as they want to call it, then let's do it, Bring out your biggest guns, and I think NXT has tried, but I think really what their biggest guns are, and I think the big point that they're missing, is the building of new superstars like Timothy Thatcher, who's not new, but new to WWE, like Matt Riddle, like Karrion Kross. That's where they need to stay. And I like the rebranding of Finn Bálor, but the Charlotte Flair, and I'm a fan, but the Charlotte Flair thing, she needs to go back to the main roster.
I mean, now we're seeing her on Monday. Now we're seeing her on Friday. Now we're seeing her on Wednesday. It's like you're triple dipping Charlotte Flair, and who is Charlotte Flair really? I mean, is she that big of a draw? Has she ever been that big of a draw? Is women's wrestling going to be that big of a draw now that Becky Lynch is missing? I don't think so. I think it's actually going to hurt women's wrestling. I've had people email me saying that they're not watching the product anymore because Becky Lynch is going away for the rest of the year. I've legitimately had people email me. I'm like, that's the reason why you're leaving?
I know the same people that say they're canceling the WWE Network 9 out of 10 times, and they're still watching every goddamn pay-per-view you put out there. So, or network special you put out there. So, I mean, everyone always says that. Everyone's always leaving their wife, or they're leaving their job, or they're leaving their husband, all this other stuff until it actually happens. I mean, listen, there's some things that the WWE is just unexplainable at times, and that's where they need to fix things. And I think Triple H, Road Dogg, and Shawn Michaels have kind of had their finger on the pulse, and that's why I think NXT is going to get better. But I think they need to. They tried with Charlotte and these other talents, at like bringing in Gallows and Anderson for that one night. I think it was before Survivor Series, and they popped a huge rating. But they need to just stay away from that stuff. Let NXT shine on its own, and that's when it was and that was when it was fun for me. Watching the Undisputed Era and watching Nakamura and Owens. It gave me an alternative to watching what I saw on every Monday and Tuesday night at the time.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt like I was watching something special, and now I feel like I'm not watching something special. And with the announcement of In Your House last night, before that announcement was made, a lot of people were spreading rumors. I don't know where they got them from. Maybe they were just pulling them out of their ass. I heard people saying, "Oh, the breaking announcement is that NXT is moving to a new night. It's going to be moving to Tuesday." And I'm like, imagine if that was the case. I would absolutely go fucking crazy over that. I would love that. I hate watching 4 hours of wrestling on Wednesday. If they moved to their own night, I think it would be better for them. I just don't know what USA is thinking about that. I don't know.
Well, the big thing is that everything, all rumor and innuendo is that SmackDown was going to be moved from Friday because it wasn't doing well. They're going to put it on either Tuesday or Thursday. But after we got the fall, schedule for WWE and Fox more so WWE, Friday night SmackDown is still happening. So on Fridays, so I think that was the biggest rumor. I've never heard NXT off of Wednesday night at all.
I don't think it's going anywhere, but I just found it funny that rumor was being spread yesterday. But it got me a little excited, and
are you upset
a little
that Becky's
wishful
leaving?
thinking.
Are you upset that Becky's leaving?
Say again?
Are you upset that Becky's leaving?
No, I think it's great that she's leaving. I think it's actually a great thing that she's leaving. I felt like she was
me too.
She was in a downward spiral, and it was only going to get worse the longer they held her with that women's championship. Now, I mean, now that you open up a can of worms, I fucking hated. Sure. I hated the fact that they gave Asuka the championship. I don't know what you think of it, but man, it just really exposes WWE. It exposes WWE for being just so fucking lazy. It's like you devalue the Money in the Bank briefcase. You don't have a cash in. How many? And what people are not understanding is that WWE has rushed the briefcase cash in for the last several years, and they've not done anything with it of a substantial note for the last couple of years. It's either the night of or the next night on Raw or SmackDown. It's like you took that away from Asuka for another year. You gave her a championship for basically doing nothing instead of using the brand-to-brand invitation or whatever the fuck they're doing now between Raw and SmackDown and inviting the women over to Monday Night Raw or the Raw women over to SmackDown and have a full-fledged tournament. I wish they would have vacated the title completely for good and just kept one championship universal between the entire division if they wanted to do that. It's lazy.
There was a lot of talk of having one women's championship, basically what they did when like Lesnar with the Undisputed title, when Lesnar would bounce and Hogan and Taker and Triple H and stuff. And I like that idea. You said it, you hated what they did with Asuka, how they just gave her the championship. Realistically, JD, with all due respect, what else could they do? I mean, Becky's pregnant, so you want to have a tournament? Okay, but then Asuka's carrying around a briefcase for 5 to 6 weeks, which was fine because her character can have that because she doesn't speak, so all she has to do is hold up that briefcase. That's fine. But my thing with that is that, you really can't take the belt off Becky. So now what happens is Becky goes and has her kid because you can't even do a crappy roll-up because Becky's really not allowed to bump at all. So you can't do that. So now what happens is Asuka was awarded the title because she won the Money in the Bank, and then when Becky comes back, she's going to get a title shot. That's exactly what's going. And I think it's going to be great for her character because you're right, the character had lost a lot of steam, and now she's going to be gone for 9 to 12 months. So,
well, the thing that works for me is the one positive here out of Asuka just being gifted the championship. I feel like I want to believe, but I mean I can't trust these people on the main roster. Monday, Shayna was excellent. She was excellent with her promo work. It was just very Brock Lesnar-esque with the way she, just gave these short, winded promos, like very direct, shitting all over everybody. That's exactly what she was in NXT. Asuka versus Shayna. I hope that is the direction that they go in. I would like to see that. I think, Asuka matches up very well against Shayna Baszler, and the intensity could be there. You mentioned Becky Lynch before with the fact that she can't bump or she couldn't bump. Now, looking back in retrospect, now we know why the WrestleMania match was incredibly underwhelming. She couldn't really do much of anything, and it ended in like 9 to 10 minutes. But I just feel at the end of the day, they could have had a tournament, found a true challenger for Asuka. Asuka is already the briefcase holder. That could be turned into a number one contender. Or you know what? Have fun with it. Have Asuka not even be in the tournament. Have someone... two women battle over the number one contendership or the championship, and then have Asuka cash in. Or have Asuka be in the tournament, lose, and then cash in because she's got the briefcase. Have fun with it, and they failed to have any creativity whatsoever with it. I just don't like being, having someone just gifted the championship. It's
right.
just
With the
lame.
problem with your logic with the WrestleMania match is that I don't think WWE nor Becky Lynch, and I can't speak for them, I'm just going by what I believe. I don't think that they knew or she knew that she was pregnant. I think she probably thought that she was, I'm not going to get into the whole women anatomy, but maybe she was late and stuff like that. Because I don't think if they knew that she was pregnant or she knew that she was pregnant, they would have probably had the title off of her. They would have given it to Shayna Baszler.
Yeah. I mean, with all the honestly, who the hell knows? I mean, with all the rumors coming out that Shayna was on Vince McMahon's shit list. So, he probably made up his mind even without knowing that Becky was pregnant or if she was pregnant. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, I think Mike Johnson of PW Insider reported that she actually wrestled pregnant, but maybe WWE...
He's normally good with his info. So
yeah.
if he's saying...
maybe he was wrong then. Maybe WWE didn't know, and she discussed it with them. Nobody knew yet, and they took the most cautious route possible, and they made the match short just out of just sheer uncertainty. I don't know. Nobody knows but Becky. So, I don't know. But, moving on, I know we're talking about WWE. It's a WWE show. I got all of NXT to go over with Drew here, but I want to thank you guys anyway for joining me on the podcast. You can follow Drew on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter, at JDfromNY206. If you missed anything that I've uploaded on the channel, this past week, Monday Night Raw, I talk about everything that I just discussed here with Drew in extent to what happened on Raw with Becky Lynch and her pregnancy. And we have the Dynamite review last night with my buddy Jesse. Really good stuff there, so go and check all of that out down in the description below. Now, Drew, the first match on NXT last night was Imperium. I love Imperium. Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner. They are the new NXT Tag Team Champions. They defeated Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher. They really weren't the tag team champions, but at the same time they were, because Pete Dunne right now is unable to make the tapings in the United States. Imperium are the new tag team champions, and all because of Timothy Thatcher walking out after I don't want to say a blatant miscue, but it was Matt Riddle trying to survive a 2-on-1, and he accidentally knocked his partner off the apron. Thatcher walks away. And Imperium then executed a European bomb, which is their finishing move, an uppercut doomsday device. And Bartel made the cover on Riddle for the win. In the backstage interview, Thatcher was asked about why he walked out. He was very heelish in this approach. Matt Riddle came to confront him. They got into a big pull-apart brawl. And apparently the Newly Bros are no more. What do you think of Imperium being tag team champions? And what do you expect out of Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher moving forward?
I enjoy Imperium just like you do, and I think that them gaining the tag team champions was fantastic. I think it's the little things like where they're from on their tights, et cetera, et cetera. They just do a lot of things right. I think they're one of the bright spots of NXT. I hope they get more of a focus. I hope they all get championships and they all can run with that. I like the Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher build here with a little bit of a feud by accident, et cetera, et cetera. It gives them time to do that at TakeOver because we don't know when Pete Dunne's coming back. And I think when Dunn and Riddle will get a tag team championship rematch. And I think, Timothy Thatcher will probably cost them that match too, which will set up another match, et cetera, et cetera. That's how I see this going. But we don't know when Pete Dunne's allowed to come back. So that's it. That's where they're going to go.
Well, there's two things here. Number one, it seems like WWE has put those two other guys, that AOP-looking tag team, Indus Share, on the back burner. I don't know what happened to them. They've been off TV now or haven't been mentioned in like 3 weeks. You had Malcolm Bivens, managing them. He's apparently gone missing with those guys. But those guys didn't really sit well with me immediately anyway. They reminded me of just two Jinder Mahals. I don't really have any interest in them. And WWE doesn't do well with those AOP, big man tag teams. It's like they all fall to the wayside and get ruined anyway. But what about when things get back to normal? What if I don't even know if Timothy Thatcher was supposed to be on NXT in the United States. I read that he was actually supposed to be part of NXT UK. What if he moves over to NXT UK when things get back to normal, and we have Pete Dunne over there already, and Imperium is from NXT UK? What if Imperium loses the tag team championships to Pete Dunne and Timothy Thatcher over in NXT UK, and Matt Riddle takes issue with that, and then we get Pete Dunne versus Matt Riddle just based off that, you turn your back on me, blah, blah, blah. What if they lose the tag team titles over in NXT UK and Matt Riddle has, he's just standing there with his arms out like, what the fuck did I do?
I mean, I like your creativeness there, but for me, I think the money is in Matt Riddle being by himself. The same goes with Pete Dunne. I really enjoyed Pete Dunne as the NXT UK champion. I enjoyed Pete Dunne working on Raw, I believe it was, or maybe SmackDown that 1 or 2 times. While I've enjoyed their tag team, they've been very entertaining. I'd rather see Riddle and Pete Dunne go on their own. And I think Timothy Thatcher is, earned his weight here, and I think he should stay on the main NXT. Not that NXT UK is not the main, but I would prefer to have him stay on NXT on USA every Wednesday night, just because he was available. And that's the big thing that a lot of people are putting into the equation here. Whether it be Roman Reigns, who's dealing with a family issue, or not a family issue, he's having his wife had kids, or is having kids.
Twins.
I don't know if the kids.
I believe I believe his wife had the twins already. Well,
congratulations. I have a set of twins. But it's a lot of work, so God bless him. He's got 2 of them. But I think that's what it is. It's about being available. That's why you're seeing all these guys on Raw, et cetera, SmackDown. Who's ever available is going to get the TV time, and then you get time to shine. They've invested too much TV time on Timothy Thatcher right now to have him go back to NXT UK. I mean, he might work a show here or there. I mean, Finn might even work the pay-per-view. I think that was, blatantly obvious that Finn Balor would probably work that pay-per-view. So we'll have to see.
Does Timothy Thatcher fit into the overall WWE model? I mean, I look at him and I see a more grizzled, I would say, Drew Gulak. Like, is he a lifer in NXT? Do you see anything more than NXT for Timothy Thatcher? I mean, I'm not really familiar with him outside of just a match here or there. I'm not like a big indie guy. I don't cover the indies. I know of Thatcher. I've seen Thatcher actually wrestle for GCW in Bloodsport. Guy's legit. But do you see anything after NXT for Timothy Thatcher, or is he a lifer?
Well, that's up to him. They'll give him, the necessary things to succeed, and then if it's bad creative, if it doesn't work, doesn't get over, they'll try something else. But I don't think he's an NXT lifer. I don't think anybody's an NXT lifer unless they really want to be. And it seems like the only people who really want to be are Gargano and Ciampa. And I have immense amount of respect for them, and I understand their reasons why. So I don't think anybody's.
I think everybody understands their reasons why. You get a guy like Johnny Gargano in the hands of Vince McMahon. He'll be dancing with the New Day in some comedy skit on SmackDown.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the stuff that they've done to some of the NXT talent that was so over is brutal. There's no excuse for it. It's absolutely brutal, and it begs the question: does the WWE writers over on Raw and SmackDown, do they even watch NXT?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anybody watches NXT on the main roster. I got this notion that everybody on the main roster is like kind of jealous or envious or, afraid of Triple H and what he's done at NXT because they know that he's doing a good job, and it's like, oh shit, I wish we could be doing that, but we can't because we got the 74-year-old old man, wanting to run things his way, and it's not working. And we can't say anything, otherwise we lose our jobs.
Yeah. I mean, it's a definite good point. I think Triple H has more of his finger on the pulse. So, you know, there's times where I question what they're doing on NXT, but Triple H has delivered, and his staff over there. I mean, how could you be less enthused about Triple H and Shawn Michaels being in charge of a wrestling brand in 2020? Because I'm enthused. Those two guys knew everything to get over in WWE and every other company possible, and they're probably two of the most well-respected talents. So their creative genius is going to go far. And don't forget Road Dogg's there too. I mean, he was the lead writer on SmackDown.
Knowing what he had to deal with on SmackDown when he was there with Brian Ward, he took a sabbatical, or he wanted to just go away for a little bit. He ended up back with NXT. I'm sure I would love to ask him what the difference in environment is working with NXT and Vince on the main roster as a creative writer. But
freedom, man. It's freedom.
Yeah, I know. And again, I think it's common logic to everybody at this point why, Triple H named the mainstay NXT show's TakeOver. He's building a faction around him. He's building a team around him. Obviously he's got his friends there. His friends know some shit, and his best friend is a WWE legend, probably the greatest of all time. He's building a team around him, so hopefully, like I said, I'm very high on Triple H taking over when that time is right. He's going to have his guy slot on in there. Who knows? Shawn Michaels may be the head of NXT when Triple H eventually takes over the main roster. That's why he's there, because he wants somebody just like him with the same vision as him, the same trust there with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels might be the man in NXT before all is said and done.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. Don't forget, I mean, Road Dogg got a catchphrase over, and he was off to the races. Now, he could 100% work, but man, that catchphrase with the New Age Outlaws, you could go to any bar, right now and do that, and I bet you at least 4 or 5 people, well, obviously not people are at bars, but you understand what I'm saying. You could go to any crowd when we're allowed and say that, you didn't know. I mean, a lot of people know that catchphrase. So Road Dogg's a smart man. You got 3 good people over there.
Yeah, and that's why I loved NXT before that, but it gives me faith that maybe one day we'll get that kind of influence on the main roster. But, Vince got to go first, and I don't see that happening. But Tegan Knox versus Indi Hartwell. Not a big fan of Indi Hartwell. I don't really see much of her anyway, but I'm not a fan of what she is doing. And she doesn't have that standout factor to me. It's just another one of them indie talents that WWE picked up for the sake of picking up another indie talent. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am missing something here. Maybe I need to go back and do some research on where she came from or who she is, but she was up against Tegan Knox, and this one was a 3-minute match. Shiniest Wizard for the win by Tegan Knox. Feels like Tegan Knox kind of fell off a little bit. She was riding high, and she was just going to be the next big thing in WWE's women's division. And that injury, absolutely fucking derailed her so badly. And I don't think she's really found a footing. They tried with the whole Dakota Kai feud, and they tried, with the comeback and the big comeback story, but it just isn't clicking for me.
Yeah, you're 100% on the ball with this one as well. I mean, you got to figure, man, I mean, look what happened with Finn. I mean, Finn had that, Universal Championship win at SummerSlam, got hurt, and that was pretty much it for him. I mean, he had an Intercontinental Championship here or there and had some, main roster matches that you were like, oh, I want to see this. But after that, he was pretty much done. That injury thing, it's not good for your career, and I know it's unfortunate at times, but sometimes the office loses faith in you, and maybe that's the case here.
Possibly. Maybe they don't trust her with the injury. I was even saying when she came back, it would have been a great just feel-good story for her to go back into the Mae Young Classic if WWE ever had another one, maybe win it, because the match that she got injured in, I believe she was actually supposed to win the entire tournament. It wasn't supposed to be Toni Storm. But if she came back and they had another Mae Young Classic, it would have been a great story for her to win it. Maybe go into the finals against Rhea Ripley, have her win the tournament in this big comeback story. That didn't happen. But I just feel like it's been a struggle to get her back to where she was. Don't know if it's going to happen. But Rhea Ripley, now that I mentioned Rhea Ripley, she's in the thick of things in the women's division. You got Rhea, Io Shirai, Charlotte Flair. Apparently, NXT last night, they showed a video of Io and Rhea Ripley getting into a backstage brawl outside of Full Sail University. Rhea gave a promo saying she was laying low this entire time coming out of WrestleMania because she was sickened by Charlotte Flair holding the NXT Women's Championship. I am right there with her. And then she said she'd pound Io Shirai into the mat and then take the title back from Charlotte. She warned Charlotte it's only the beginning, and that championship is coming back to her. Do we get Rhea and Io next week, with the winner being Rhea, to go up against Charlotte at the pay-per-view?
I think you'll probably get a triple threat at the pay-per-view. I think that's probably where they're headed for In Your House. And I really find her own. I think she was doing masterful work with the stuff that she was shown on Raw when she was inside Raymond James Stadium by herself, and all that other stuff. And I believe, she has the potential to be very, very good. I really am high on Candice LeRae. I really am. I know, your fans might hate it, but I really do like Candice LeRae. I think she's got a lot of talent here, and I think she could eventually one day, hopefully, win that NXT Women's Championship. But hopefully Rhea Ripley takes the title at In Your House, and we can get Charlotte back to the main roster.
Yeah, I feel like with the way things are going, you could possibly see a triple threat match. I don't think Io should be done dirty like that, but maybe a triple threat match protects. I don't even know how that would. I don't know what you do, because I just feel like at the end of the day, WWE's not going to beat Charlotte. Charlotte's not going to get pinned for the NXT Women's Championship, even though it would be right for Rhea to get her revenge. So maybe I'm just overthinking things. But Io, a lot of people feel like Io is the best female wrestler in the WWE. She should be the champion, the leader of the women's division in NXT. But do you see Charlotte maybe holding the championship till SummerSlam, and we get Rhea and Charlotte at SummerSlam, which... I mean, I don't want to wait all these weeks to go get that one match. You could just do it now in the summer and get it over with, Yeah.
Do you think that she's the best women's wrestler in NXT right now, Io?
Io? Yeah, I do, yeah.
Okay. So then, I would tend to agree with you. So I think that she's probably in line for the NXT Women's Championship sooner rather than later. But like I said, Ripley's promo was very strange. But I just, like I said, I hope she refines her footing, and I hope that Charlotte, they don't need that championship on Charlotte. So get it on to somebody who could use it and, build a feud. Otherwise, what's probably going to happen is Charlotte's going to hold on to that belt till SummerSlam and then lose it. So who knows?
Do you have any information at all from what you know about what happened to Rhea? Because I do feel like coming out of WrestleMania, she hasn't been featured on TV. All of that momentum that they had for Rhea Ripley coming out of that big title win at the end of the year in 2019 over Shayna, confronting Charlotte after she won the Royal Rumble, having what I thought was a really good match at WrestleMania, even though I'm not a Charlotte Flair fan. Still a great match. I can't take that away from them.
We know.
Do you feel like the momentum is just now gone and WWE has to start all over again with Rhea Ripley? Or do you think a win over Charlotte's going to just not even make that mean anything? Like, it's not even going to matter.
Well, this. It all depends on how the announcers, portray that. That's why Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler and all those guys were fantastic back in the day. When Rhea Ripley wins that NXT Women's Championship, if Mauro Ranallo does his typical thing, then yeah, it'll be a big deal. That's his job, to make it a big deal. That's Phoenix as well, to make it a big deal. And then everybody else starts to believe it's a big deal. I don't have any information on Rhea, but I don't think she's been at the building for anything for the past, month? So maybe she's not, and I could be wrong, but maybe she's not in the States.
I read that she was. I read that she was still in Orlando. And okay. I don't have any reason as to, maybe she just opted to not show up for safety
Which is very possible.
I don't know.
Which is possible. I mean, look what they did with Shayna Baszler. After Money in the Bank, I was sitting there like, Shayna Baszler did not win Money in the Bank. What the hell is Shayna Baszler going to do? Yeah. And then she rebounded on Monday. So you just gotta give it time, let them figure out what's up. I mean,
yeah, but in that situation, I feel like they didn't appreciate Shayna when Becky was there. And now that Becky's not going to be there for God knows how long, now they're going to appreciate Shayna Baszler. It's like, fuck you, man. It's like you had Shayna, being treated like a goddamn monster for 2.5, 3 years down in NXT with Triple H. And when she comes up, you treat her like that, and then you kind of shove her to the side because you don't want to take the title of Becky Lynch. And now that Becky's not there, now you're going to give Shayna the attention that she deserves? Come on.
But you remember the same thing happened with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin went down with an injury, and then Triple H's stardom rose. I mean, Stone Cold were on top for so many matches, so many months, and then Austin got hurt, and who emerged? Triple H. So maybe this is exactly what both these people need: Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler. That They got to build new stars because you just lost Becky Lynch. You're going to lose Roman Reigns for a while. They need to figure out who they're going to build, and they need to figure it out quick.
I agree. It's a good point you made with Stone Cold and Triple H. Do I have faith in WWE doing that now as compared to back then in the Attitude Era? Probably not. But speaking of Rhea Ripley, if she does take the title off of Charlotte, which I would assume is the right creative decision here, you mentioned Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae's playing this new heel character. Could Rhea Ripley have Candice LeRae be that first big heel opponent in a fresh second title reign?
God, I hope so. I think Candice LeRae right now is probably the best thing going on NXT's women's division. So I really hope that they use that the way they should. And this promo with them at dinner with like the it almost like an insane thought when they went to white was fantastic. I thought this was definitely the best thing NXT had on it, besides the Karrion Kross promo. But this was the best thing they did on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and I told Jesse when I was texting him watching the show, I said, and everybody wants to make fun of Johnny. You know, Johnny's a vanilla midget. Johnny's never going to get over. Johnny's never going to have a successful run at the main roster. And this is Johnny wearing yet another hat. You know, he is Johnny Wrestling. He's a great babyface. He played that Daniel Bryan-like babyface in NXT, one of the best wrestlers in the world. Now he's playing a heel, and he's got his wife to play off of, and he's just excelling at it. It's like the guy could, you know, you want to make fun of him. That's your prerogative, but he's taking this role. He's doing great with it, and I don't think there's anything he can't do, to be honest with you. I just think he's just that good.
Yeah, I mean, he's proven himself time and time again. Let me ask you a question. Let's just say they push Charlotte back to the main roster. Would you like to see Sasha Banks down at NXT or a Bayley? If you could take one woman and bring them down to NXT, or I shouldn't say bring them down, move them over to NXT, who would it be?
If I had to, I wouldn't move anybody at all, because I think NXT has Toni Storm waiting, and they got some of that NXT UK talent that they could bring over there and really start building upon, because that's exactly what they did with Rhea. Rhea just showed up, and everybody fell in love with her. And I think the same thing could happen with Toni Storm. But if I had to choose one, and I wouldn't even make it a mainstay, I'd probably do it for like 6 months. I'd obviously do Sasha Banks. I think Sasha Banks versus Io is something I would love to see. I love to see Sasha versus Rhea Ripley. I thought they had a good back and forth, you know, in the very little time they had in the ring during the Survivor Series build and those women's matches to build for that Survivor Series match there that they had in November. Candice versus Sasha would be a great match. There's a lot of matches that Sasha could really go down there and show everybody why she's still one of the best wrestlers, female wrestlers in the world. But if I had a choice, I wouldn't move anybody, because I think NXT should be NXT, and I think Raw should be Raw, and SmackDown should be SmackDown.
I agree 100%, but I just feel like they're constantly going to send people up and down or up and around just to pop ratings. And I
now, if you ask me, do I think Sasha would have a better, I would say, impact on the ratings than Charlotte? Yeah, absolutely. Not going to be by much. It's not going to be something that's going to beat AEW, but I do think if you move a Sasha instead of a Charlotte down to NXT, I do think a lot more people would watch NXT to see what Sasha does, because I just think she is more of a must-see act compared to Charlotte. I feel like Charlotte has this Roman Reigns mystique about her. Like, everybody knows that the company's shoving her down everybody's throat, and they're overexposing her. And I think, like I told you before, people are starting to wake up. Like, nobody wants to see Charlotte because of the sheer amount of times we do see Charlotte. You know, quality over quantity, and that's not something WWE kind of meddles in. It's always quantity over quality with these people.
Yeah, I mean, you make a very good point, because back in the early 90s and even the middle of the 90s, Hogan was only on, when he was champion, he was only on the major shows and, you know, the highly televised show. He was never on little house shows, and he was never on all this other stuff. And even on, when he was with the company, he was barely on Monday Night Raw in 1993. So, I mean, you're probably right.
Yeah. And everybody in the chat saying, JD loves Sasha. Yeah, I do. And it doesn't hurt that my boss...
She's a good wrestler.
Yeah, she's a great wrestler. And it doesn't hurt that my boss, Amazing Red at House of Glory, trains Sasha Banks every time she rolls through Queens. So, you know, I know people who know Sasha Banks, so yes, I even loved Sasha Banks before that, but that just puts the cherry on top of the cake as to why she is so awesome. Because would you see Charlotte Flair going into a grimy, rundown gym at House of Glory to train with the Amazing Red? Probably not. Sasha loves that. She lives for that. She got a notebook about everything she learns and everything that she, you know, wants to put into effect in the ring. She got a fucking wrestling notebook that I seen pictures of. I haven't seen it firsthand because I've never met the woman, but, she
Right.
loves the business. I don't think Charlotte Flair loves the business. Charlotte Flair is in the business because of her father, and I think Sasha loves the business and is really having a difficult time getting to where she believes she deserves to be. That's my take. You don't probably agree with that, but, everybody knows I'm not a big Charlotte Flair fan.
I know Charlotte Flair got into the business because of her brother, and I think Charlotte Flair is passionate about this business. And I think just because you see Charlotte Flair portray a character on television doesn't mean that's the real person behind what she does. And this is, I know your fans don't like her, and that's okay, but she is a fantastic human being. She might not be your favorite wrestler, but she is a good human being, and she's been through a lot. I'm not giving her sympathy points there, but she does work very, very well. So
she does. She's very good. But again, we'll see what happens with Charlotte moving on into the rest of the year. Hopefully she loses that title sooner rather than later. Speaking of titles, we got the Cruiserweight Championship tournament still continuing on. I know you mentioned to me before we actually went live today, Drew, that the Cruiserweight Championship, in your eyes, you feel like it's taking over a little too much. It's too, I guess these shows are a little reliant on the NXT Cruiserweight Championship tournament. And it started off as a big deal. It started off exciting. I love the round robin tournament. I feel like WWE should really do an extended round robin tournament over WWE TV on the main roster between Raw and SmackDown and bill that as the King of the Ring. I would love if WWE gave us a G1 Climax like King of the Ring and have the winner, battle it out over the King of the Ring on Monday Night Raw to become the number one contender for a match at SummerSlam. I think it just makes everybody's life easier. It gives meaning to the TV shows. But in my fantasy world, that's the way it would be. But it started off hot, and then it kind of fizzled out greatly. These matches went from really competitive to now we're seeing 3, 4-minute, 5-minute matches on NXT, and it's like, it's not really what I associate with a Cruiserweight Championship tournament.
No, and like I said to you before we got on the air, I just thought that I understand what they're trying to do. They're limited in what they can do, so this takes up a lot of time, and it, makes sense. It's what they're taking what they're given and making, the best out of it. But for me, they could do this. They could air this on the WWE Network and keep it off NXT and just have this air, weekly, or you could have it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then next week the same thing. I like the style of it. I think we should see more of this on WWE programming, just like I love what AEW does with the standings. I think WWE is really missing the ball on that. But WWE really doesn't want to be sport. They want to be entertainment. So I don't know. This type of stuff, it had my attention very early, and now I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm like, oh, hurry up, get through this so I can get to a major sticking point. And that's a shame because there's a lot of talented people in this.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I feel the same way, and I feel that WWE should absolutely, not only with the Mae Young Classic, but we should have another Cruiserweight Classic. I thought that the Cruiserweight Classic was, and no matter what you guys think of the Cruiserweights in WWE, I feel like when things hopefully get back to normal, another Cruiserweight Classic would be phenomenal. I thought it was one of the best productions that WWE ever did. I love the look. I love the feel. I love the sound of it with Morrow and Daniel Bryan calling the inaugural event. It was great, and I feel like they should definitely give these guys another platform like that because the Cruiserweights are just like, okay, we'll do something here one week with them, and then they get shit on, and then they want to use them again, and then they want to get shit on again. It's like, they don't know what they want to do with them. It's like there's so many talented people in this division, like you said. It's like WWE is just using them to fill in spots, and they're not giving them a dedicated spot on the show. It's like now they are somewhat, but it's not really as it was with the Cruiserweight Classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I think what WWE should capitalize, and they should use this time since we are all, in our houses, and I know some places are opening up, and it's getting nicer. Before it gets too nice, and before everything changes, I would actually have a King of the Ring tournament spread out on Raw and SmackDown, and have 8 guys from SmackDown, 8 guys from Raw, have the winner from Raw versus the winner from SmackDown at a pay-per-view, and have your King of the Ring. That's what I would do. I would really bring back the King of the Ring, and I'd do it quick because this Cruiserweight Classic or Championship Tournament or whatever had a lot of buzz, and it's kind of fizzled. But I think with the talent that you have on Raw and SmackDown, and hell, you could even throw NXT in there as well, could really be something special. And I think a lot of people would watch it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I'm not sold, like I said, I'm not sold on this tournament anymore, and I'm not sold on Jake Atlas. I mentioned this on Twitter, and so I didn't even read the replies to the tweet. Jake Atlas, dude, there's nothing that stands out to me about Jake Atlas. He's He is in Humberto Carrillo territory with me, meaning that it's just, get this guy away from me. I don't really care about him. I think I used the term, he is as vanilla as Turkey Hill on social media is what I said. So it's like, why did this guy get signed? Why is he so, like, why do people think he's so special? Like, what is it about Jake Atlas that got him a job here? Like, where did he come from? Why are they making a big deal out of this guy? I mean, what do you see in Jake Atlas, and what stands out about him to you? Anything?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, nothing right now. I mean, I was a big fan of Tony Nese, and they've done nothing with him, and he's a Long Island boy. But, man, I think Tony Nese could really shine if given the right opportunity. Same thing with Kushida. I mean, same thing with Drake Maverick. I mean, there's a lot of guys in this. Akira Tozawa is burning through this tournament like he's the best wrestler on the planet, but gets buried on Monday Night Raw. And that's, I know he's getting TV time, and that's a story for a different day. But, no, I don't really see much with that human being. I really don't.
Well,
I don't.
He got the win over Tony Nese. Tony Nese is, to me, so much more superior than Jake Atlas. He went 0-3 in this tournament. He is absolutely gone. Atlas is still alive, but Atlas wins. He hit his Rainbow DDT, is what he's calling it, and he advances, I guess, to one more match, depending on who that is. I think it's going to be Kushida, but there's no way that Atlas is beating Kushida at the end of the day. But that's just my take there. Atlas wins in 5 minutes. And, again, nothing special with Jake Atlas. Moving on, we got the Undisputed Era. They, I don't know if you watched this, dude. It was more of WWE trying to pick up on the bubbly bunch than anything, with the Undisputed Era having a Zoom meeting between all four of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing that bothers me so much about this. Like, we saw a lot of this in WCW. When WWE would do stuff and vice versa. Stop copying people. Let AEW have an original idea, and let NXT have an original idea. You don't need, I know, it's like the highest form of flattery, but come on. I mean, I know you got a bunch of your fans in here. Does anybody really yell and scream on a podcast like JD does, or a video? No. So, I mean, there's many people who try and duplicate him, but I mean, it's not him. So WWE needs to, like, not, and don't get me wrong, it's, they're in different places, but why isn't the Undisputed Era in the building for NXT? Like, what? They're a major player on this show. You don't see Jericho and Hardy, and I know it's taped, but I mean, I would have my biggest guns at every one of my NXT shows. I don't care what day of the week.
I think Adam Cole is there, obviously. Roderick Strong has been there. And I think Kyle O'Reilly has, I don't know what he has. He's got some type of disease. Like, it's not life-threatening or anything. It's just he needs to stay home to, protect his health. That's why he's not there. And then I guess without him being there, Bobby Fish, feels like, well, there's not really going to be a role for me to do anything substantial. I'm part of UE, but if my tag team partner's not going to be on the show, then what's the fucking point of me being here? So I think he's out because of his health, and that kind of led to Bobby Fish being out. So that's just that. But they were in the middle of the tag team title hunt, and now they're not. So
yeah, I didn't like the whole, like, bubbly bunch ripoff.
Oh yeah, he has diabetes. The chat says he has diabetes. Kyle O'Reilly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Weaken the immune system, sure. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I thought maybe like lupus or something, or maybe something that you would need to stay away from other people for a good amount of time until this blows over. But the bubbly bunch thing, I know that's, they'll never say that's what it was, but it kind of felt that way. And man, oh man, it fell flat. But you know what didn't fall flat, which I know you and your buddy talked about, Jesse? Holy moly, Mike Tyson, huh? Mike Tyson's all over the news right now, and now AEW's got him.
One of my other buddies texted me saying that Mike Tyson's making a comeback, and is he legitimately making an in-ring comeback, or is it something that I seen him training, and I seen him doing something with I guess somebody he was training with, but he looked phenomenal for his age. But is he legitimately making a comeback, and why is he in the news now?
Well, I don't think he's legitimately making a comeback to like boxing, where you're going to see him compete for the, IW, the championship or anything else like that. I don't see that happening. But I do think Mike Tyson's looking to get back into the ring for a big payday, and I would watch it, and I think a lot of other people will. And think about it. Right now, you're probably not getting out of your houses, or you're not going to be able to go to live events or anything else like that till probably June or July with fans, maybe even into August and September in some parts of the country. So Mike Tyson can fight Buster Douglas again if Buster Douglas was in shape, or Evander Holyfield again, and people are going to pay $49.99 or $59.99, and it's a big deal. Think about it. The WWE did this in 1998, and don't get me wrong, the star power there is what sold that. But Mike Tyson just came off biting Evander Holyfield's ear, and he was suspended by the Boxing Commission. So what Mike Tyson did is show up at the Royal Rumble, and him, Austin, and Vince had that epic encounter is all over ESPN and Fox and FS1 and all that other stuff. Now what's going to happen is Mike Tyson's going to make a comeback, and guess where he is? He's on AEW. It's a big deal, and it's a big get for them. It's not the same as Austin. It's not the same time period, but Mike Tyson's still a huge name, and that happened. So I think that's kudos to Cody and AEW for grabbing him.
My guy Salrex made me a thumbnail for Dynamite last night, and it had Mike Tyson in the middle of it with Cody and Lance Archer on both sides, and the title of the thumbnail was like, Mike Tyson is now elite. I posted it on my Instagram page, and I seen a couple of comments, and I'm sure this is the general populace on Twitter feeling the same way, and I guess giving me the same comment, or giving everybody the same comment. Oh, but he was in WWE first, and he's irrelevant. What do you say to people like that who say, oh, he was in WWE first, and AEW is now just trying to ride WWE's coattails or whatever? What do you say to those kinds of people?
Not true at all. I mean, yeah, okay, he was in WWE first, and he might have been and I think he said he was a WWF fan growing up, but to those people, I mean, listen, Mike Tyson's phone rang. Cody was probably the first one who decided to call him. Otherwise, he probably would have been doing something with WWE, and he took the opportunity. What did those fans say about Bret Hart when he presented the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing? He was in WWE first. He was WWE's, horse for so many years, but he showed up on AEW. You don't think Vince was mad? He probably was really mad because Bret was on SummerSlam a month later talking to Seth Rollins. Yeah. So watch, Mike Tyson might show up on WWE television in 2 months from now. But I think those comments are ridiculous. I mean, okay, he was in WWE first. So what? The Undertaker was in WCW first. Is he a WCW guy? Come on.
This is again people pushing their own narrative. They want to create separation between AEW and WWE. I don't feel like there is a necessity to do that. But
that's life, JD. Everything now is whether you're red or blue, or you're black and you're white.
I don't get mixed in with those agendas. I'm just me. I like what I like. Leave me the fuck alone. But this is what people do to entertain themselves.
We were all coming together. Everyone was vibing well. Everybody was doing good things. Everybody could care less about whether you're white, black, Asian, Republican, Democrat, liberal. And then all of a sudden all this crap happened, which we're not going to get into, and it pushed everybody into separate corners of the country and separate corners of a room. It's terrible. You don't need to have a war here, guys. Just enjoy professional wrestling.
Yeah, guys, enjoy professional wrestling, please, on Wednesday night. It's not, who sucks and who's better, please. I'm so sick and tired of hearing it. I even gave up, kind of joking about it, like on the podcast when I usually do the ratings breakdown and whatnot. I just read the ratings and then that's it. I go over how each show was, and I don't even compare segments or compare shows. It's a waste of time. But Karrion Kross, bro, and Scarlett, they had a great vignette, and this is another, I guess, step in the right direction with this guy. Absolutely, he's got not even a fucking rocket pack, dude. This guy's got like 6 or 7 rocket packs strapped to him. The vignette on top of the debut last week, this guy's going to be at the top of NXT in record time. I don't know anybody that's going to be fast-tracked as fast as Karrion Kross.
Yeah, man, oh man, that promo, him and his lady, the music, The End Is Near, that was an old Armageddon theme song, and the NWO used it. I mean, man, oh man, oh man. This guy's been given the keys to the kingdom, and he will shine. He will shine.
Again, he'll be on the main roster before we can breathe. So as soon as Vince sees what Triple H is cooking up down there, he's like, oh, what is this? Who the fuck is she? She's blonde? Main roster.
Well, he's big enough to be on the main roster already, and I don't think he's NXT bound for long. The only thing that will keep him is if you get Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era that get called up. They're going to need that star power there, and I think that might be something that Triple H negotiated. But I mean, there is 100% certainty that Triple H sweetened the pot for Karrion Kross to come over to AEW instead of going somewhere else, because they are giving him the Ferrari to drive.
Well, to be fair, we heard not a peep about Kross going to AEW, or even if he negotiated with AEW. I know for a fact, because I was around people who were doing business and what the plans were. I know House of Glory was going to, it wasn't going to be anywhere near WWE money, but we wanted Kross to come in for a major program when Master P bought the company. for our first show back, and then everything just one after another fell through. But do you see AEW back in the day when there was a possible negotiation going on between the two companies? Did AEW, do you think, negotiated with Cross, or did they just kind of concede and say, you know what, take them, we don't want them?
No, I think AEW definitely had interest in carrying Cross. I can't speak on that, whether they did or didn't, but if I was running a wrestling promotion right now, he would be on my top list. I think Impact was trying to get him to come back. I think AEW was trying to come back, but I think, or AEW was trying to get him to come over, but I think WWE probably offered him the biggest potential and the most money. And a lot of people, they say, well, I can't believe the WWE signed all these indie guys and all that other stuff. First of all, sometimes it's life-changing money, number one. And number two, a lot of these men and women's dreams are to go to the WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, so that might play a big factor in it. Right now, if somebody said to me, okay, Drew, where do you want to go, NXT or AEW? Man, I'd probably want to jump on AEW just because I think that they're putting out a better product right now. But that doesn't mean that NXT is not going to pick up the pace. But I think AEW, I don't know, their product's been fantastic recently. So,
yeah. The thing is with Karrion Kross, though, I remember, if I remember correctly, Scarlett was still living at home with her mother when she was still employed by Impact Wrestling. I think they told her to go get a second job because she wanted to make more money. And then Kross, he signed a new 3-year deal. He realized what he's really worth and what he could potentially mean to the company. He wanted to renegotiate his contract. They said no. They held him off TV. They stopped his independent bookings. I believe he was supposed to work a show in Mexico. They held him off from work in Mexico. It was a crazy situation where neither of them were happy. They were not making anywhere near the money that I'm sure they're making now. And now they're just on the cusp of being the biggest thing in the entire fucking company. And it's crazy just to look back at where they came from. It's like, holy shit, how someone's life can just change like that, snap of a finger.
Well, I mean, that's probably part of the negotiation process. And if you don't think that Triple H, who has mend fences with Bruno Sammartino in the WWE and probably the Ultimate Warrior in the WWE and all that other stuff, knows how to negotiate, boy, he definitely does. And he probably sold him the kingdom. And he's given him the kingdom so far, We just got to see what happens when he has a match. It seems like he's going to have a match against Tommaso Ciampa, which that'll be interesting to me because, I mean, I think Ciampa will do business, but he's got to start to protect there too. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
But if I tell you what, if the match is going to happen, which I'm assuming it will, there's no better guy to be in the ring with than Tommaso Ciampa. So either way you look at it, Kross is going to come out looking like $1 billion.
That's a fantastic point. That's a fantastic point because Triple H and the booking committee is not going to put Karrion Kross against somebody who can't hold his weight and can't hold his own in the ring. So that's a fantastic point.
And this is exactly what I mentioned a couple weeks ago before I even had you on the podcast. Imagine what Tommaso Ciampa is thinking. A lot of people are like, oh, Ciampa's going to get buried. Ciampa's going to lose. He needs to win coming out of the thing with Gargano. Look at the faith that Triple H has in Tommaso Ciampa. He could have picked anybody to be a first feud for Kross, and he's picking Tommaso Ciampa. Imagine what you're thinking if you're Kross. Like, I'm coming in, I might have a program with like a Damian Priest, or I might have a program with a Cameron Grimes. Dude, you're going right to the top of the fucking food chain. What does that say about what they think about Kross? What do they think about Tommaso Ciampa, that they have that level of faith in him to bring this guy up to a point where they need him to be? I mean, it's working all around in just great ways for everybody.
Well, if you remember it, I know you do, but to your fans, Jericho and Eddie Guerrero would have matches against people who were just coming in or anything else like that to WWE, and they would say, okay, the kid can go. And that's exactly what this is. This is Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano or NXT's Chris Jericho. They're going to see if a kid can go. Plain and simple. Why did Jericho have a match with Pineapple Pete? Why did Jericho have a match with Darby Allin and all those other people? To see if they can go.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yep. That's exactly what they're doing here with Ciampa and Kross. Can't wait to see what is next for both Scarlett and Kross. Dakota Kai, she had a vignette. Simple and sweet, said she knew it was time for a change and to team with Raquel Gonzalez. They said together, or she said rather, her and Raquel are going to hurt a lot of people. I think Dakota Kai is great. I want to see more of her, definitely in the women's division. Swerve, Isaiah Swerve Scott also had an interview, said he was confident, and he found out with Phantasma, or Phantasma found out real quick how confident he really could be. He said if he couldn't get a win in the entire tournament, he'd quit wrestling altogether, and then he obviously got ready for his match against Jack Gallagher, which came later in the show. But we went on from that to Balor and Cameron Grimes. This is something that happened coming out of last week. Grimes talked shit. He said he'd slap Finn Balor if he had the chance to, and he didn't. Balor came from right behind him and kind of punked him out. Cameron Grimes looked like a complete coward last week. So we got a match this week. Cameron Grimes wins due to the interference of Damian Priest. I love the back and forth between Grimes and Balor. Balor's been great. Grimes has been great since WWE put him on TV for that extended period of time coming out of that breakout tournament. But Damian Priest, Drew, shut up from behind Balor. He actually got knocked down by Balor, and then Priest actually waited for his moment to strike Finn in the back of the leg with his nightstick. And Grimes went for the cave-in, his finishing move, and that was it. Priest then brought in a chair after the match, hit Balor with his reckoning finishing move, laid the chair across Balor's throat, and he said if he wanted to live forever, why not take out a prince? He said he enjoyed it just like he did 3 weeks ago, and there's the confirmation. Priest is the attacker on Finn Balor. What do you think of this feud? And I have one question about Damian Priest for you. Has Damian Priest actually fallen off from when we first seen him with this new gimmick? He was Punisher Martinez first, and then he was Damian Priest, the Archer of Infamy, the cool gimmick with the bow and arrow, the name in flames, and they gave him the whole cross treatment. Now, do you feel NXT is kind of going a little bit overboard? They got this sameness with a lot of guys on the roster. They got Damian Priest, who's a cool heel. Then you got Karrion Kross, who came in, who's even a cooler heel, and obviously going to be the man in that company. And you got guys like Dexter Lumis, who's creepy, but he's also a heel as well. Actually, I don't know where he fits in, but he's creepy, and he's got that sinister vibe to him. Do you feel like there's too many of the same type of character on NXT, and Damian Priest is kind of getting the lower end of the stick here? Everybody's kind of surpassing him.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's too many of the same character. I think that's a fantastic point. But, I mean, I don't think Damian Priest is getting the low end of the stick because he's getting into a program with Finn.
Yeah.
Finn is one of the high spots of NXT. I think that the match is going to be fantastic, and I think this is a test. Can Damian Priest hang with Finn Balor and give everybody give the fans a good match and let the NXT agents figure out whether or not, hey, you know what, this was a good investment or a bad investment? I think this is a showcase for him. I also think you're probably going to see Demon Finn Balor here because I think Priest is going to continuously beat him down until where he has to go to that character. And I think it's a smart move. I'm looking forward to the match. I mean, do you think that Damian Priest has the potential to have a good match with Balor, or do you think it's all said and done already?
I think Damian Priest is very good for a guy his size. Balor could bring out a great match in anybody, in my honest opinion. But I feel like Damian Priest, they want to push Damian Priest. They have a lot of faith in Damian Priest. I just feel like he's, again, the reason why I said he got the short end of the stick, not because he's in the ring with Finn Balor, but he's been in the ring with Keith Lee, couldn't get the job done, didn't win the championship. He was in there with Dijakovic, really couldn't do anything much. He was in there with, now he's in there with Balor. He's got a feud with Balor now coming up. I don't think he's going to win that. By the time all is said and done, do you see a guy like Damian Priest not really going anywhere? They don't have a role for him. He can only go so far. Do you see him on the main roster before the end of the year? Is he somebody that is one of those types of talents that you look at NXT, he's good, but he'll probably have a better career for himself on the main roster instead of being in NXT because they have so much moving parts in NXT.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point and a very valid one, true. I think, the Forgotten Sons, I think Damian Priest could maybe go over there and be the fourth member of that. I think there's a lot of options for him, but I agree. I think he's lost in the shuffle in NXT, and I think the reason why they bring out the Demon for this is because Priest is going to push Bálor to his limits, and then Bálor's just going to destroy him. And I think that might, unless, they have other plans for Damian Priest, but I think that could be the last time you see him on NXT, and maybe he goes to Raw or SmackDown, because I agree he's lost in the shuffle. And it's a shame because he's a good talent. He really is.
Moving on from that, Grimes got the win over Balor, which is great. I mean, it was a cheap victory, but a victory nonetheless.
You like this Grimes guy, huh?
Say again?
You like this guy, huh?
Grimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a very good wrestler. He's just, it's nothing, you look at him, he's
Zach
not
Brown.
Anything special by appearance. I mean, he's got a fucking, he's a
got a Zach Brown hat. He's got a Zach Brown hat,
leather jacket. Yeah, he's talking about alligators down in the South, but he's a great fucking wrestler. I don't know what awaits him on the NXT roster in the future, but I mean, he's a great wrestler. So they obviously they changed him enough to make him at least somewhat of a character. When we first seen him, he was just, Cameron Grimes. Now they added the jacket and the hat, and they added the gimmick. I don't know where it takes him, but, I think he's one of those guys that has the potential to break out and do well in NXT. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see more of him. I think getting a win over Bálor, even with the interference, is a huge step for him. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Someone who I want to see more of definitely is Swerve Scott. Isaiah Swerve Scott. He went up against Jack Gallagher, Group B Cruiserweight Championship Tournament match. Gallagher wins in 3 minutes, exactly what Drew and I talked about before. There's really no, effort in WWE's part here to make these matches stand out and really build the shows around them. Another 3-minute tournament match, not really what I call a tournament match. Really nothing to it. Jack Gallagher wins. Isaiah Swerve Scott is out. Jack Gallagher is out, so they are both eliminated from the tournament. And Gallagher wins a match that at the end of the night didn't really mean much, Yeah,
I agree with you. I want to see who they put in the finals of this. If it was me, I'd have Maverick probably against Kushida, have Kushida win the whole thing. But I guess we'll see how it plays out. Only reason I select Drake Maverick is because of all the buzz he's got recently, and we all know that he's not currently employed by WWE. So
yeah, I won't even go that far. I think Maverick needs to be eliminated. I think the match is next week, if I'm not mistaken. I think Kushida wins Group A. I think either Atlas or Phantasma win Group B, and then we get the finals, and then we can call whoever wins this the new Cruiserweight champion until Jordan Devlin comes back, which I do feel like WWE, when things get back to normal and he's able to be here, he's going to be the Cruiserweight champion. There was no reason. I don't think WWE ever wanted to take the title off of him. They had to because of reasons beyond their control. But, if you're going to sell me on a Jordan Devlin versus Kushida match, I'm all in. I'm all in for that.
Yeah, me too.
Cayden Carter versus Aliyah. This is a throwaway match if I ever seen one. I'm not a big fan of Aliyah. Cayden Carter really doesn't have anything going for her at the moment. Cayden Carter wins in 2 minutes. Aliyah loses again. They're teasing a Robert Stone pairing with Aliyah in his brand. It is what it is. It's, well, what do you want me to say about it? I guarantee you don't give a shit about this, right?
No. I think that, again, there's a lot of talent in this ring. I think it was short. I don't know. There's really nothing positive to come out of this one. So
there's nothing to say, dude. Don't even try.
No,
really.
No.
So we got that. Moving on from that, we got the dinner with Johnny Gargano and his wife, Candice LeRae. Gargano said Candice stomped a ninja, and Gargano took out Dijakovic, which I found funny. He was talking about the match. He was watching his match back on his iPad. Said Dijakovic learned a valuable lesson. The video, like the last time at the dinner table, went black and white, like Drew mentioned earlier, and a darker audio and visual came in, and they were speaking to the camera. Back to normal, Candice said the undeserved rewards keep going around NXT. Mia Yim got Charlotte while Candice was stuck with Casey. She's a ninja. She's not a ninja. She's a warrior. She's not a warrior. And then Gargano was like, well, she's American, right? Okay, I guess she's American. And then we seen Candice talking about Mia, how she didn't deserve anything. Back to normal again. Gargano said a man was more interested in basking in his glory than winning. He said everyone loves you until they don't. The glory he's looking for doesn't exist in regards to Keith Lee. It works for a little bit, but it doesn't last. And then they obviously made threats towards Mia Yim and Keith Lee. And it looks like we could be getting those two matches at TakeOver. If you're selling me on a Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano match for the North American Championship, fucking take my money now. I think those two could absolutely have a match of the year candidate. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think these two are probably, like I said, this and the Karrion Kross stuff was the high spot of NXT. And obviously, the first match with the tag team titles. But I really enjoy Candice and Johnny here, and I think they're a bright spot on an other less dull show for NXT.
I wouldn't even go immediately to the North American Championship. Why rush the match? Being that Candice is talking about Mia and Johnny's talking about Keith Lee, and I think it's pretty common knowledge if you follow them on social media that Keith Lee and Mia Yim are dating. Let's do a mixed tag team match at the TakeOver show. Get that. Johnny could lose with Candice there, and then maybe that builds or actually you could have Johnny beat them there, or Johnny pin Keith Lee, or Candice pin Mia Yim, and build towards the title match one-on-one from that.
But let me ask you a question. You said the same thing about Damian Priest before. I think Keith Lee has done pretty much all he can in NXT besides win the championship, the world championship. So do you think he takes the loss here, gives the belt to Gargano, and then gets called up to the main roster? Because Keith Lee can make a big impact in WWE on the main roster.
I absolutely do think so. In fact, I was actually one of the few people that said if you're going to do Keith Lee in any championship, it should be him beating Adam Cole. He was so hot coming out of the Survivor Series, going into that little stretch before he won the North American Championship. They opted to give him that match instead of the Adam Cole match. He did get the Adam Cole match, but it wasn't for the championship. But I feel like they missed the boat on that. I feel like he should have been the NXT champion. It would have been unbelievable at a TakeOver. It should have happened in that February TakeOver is what I was predicting.
No, you're 100% right, because the steam that he had coming off the Royal Rumble with him and Brock in the ring was fantastic. I mean, Brock made him more than what he was at that time, and that's a big thing to Brock Lesnar, and it's also tied to Keith Lee, and I think they should have capitalized. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that they missed the boat on that, but I do think Keith Lee's going to get called up, and again, I'm very wary about what happens to NXT talent on the main roster, but I do think that Keith Lee is legitimate enough to a point where I think everybody on the main roster will look at him and say, you know what, guys, I don't think we could fuck this up, or I don't think we should mess with what we got here. I can't even envision Keith Lee outside of anything, compared to what we've seen so far with him. I can't see him do anything else but what we've seen in NXT. Like, it would be a crime if they do anything different to Keith Lee on a Raw or a SmackDown.
Yeah, I agree. I think Keith Lee just needs to come up and do his thing and be the dominant wrestler that he has been, and I think he should, he'd be a perfect candidate for that new Intercontinental Champion. Yeah.
That's a good point. Actually, another thing, it's funny you mentioned that. I thought the major announcement, outside of the Tuesday rumor that they were moving to Tuesday, and before we even had any idea that they were going to bring back and revise In Your House, I thought that they were going to announce the brand-to-brand invitation was going to include NXT, and that there were going to be some people in this Intercontinental Championship tournament on Friday from NXT, which Keith Lee, I think, would be great. I think he would fit right in there, especially on SmackDown. They need a big refresh on SmackDown. I don't know what the fuck they got to do, but SmackDown is fucking dull as dishwater. I can't stand the roster they have on SmackDown.
That whole, I don't know what they're calling the brand invitational. God almighty, just in the brand split already. I mean, I'm tired of the going back and forth and the uncertainty and the not being able to make up your mind. Isn't
it fucking stupid? Don't they learn from their mistakes from last year?
I mean, it's wrestling, and I understand it, but I really enjoyed professional wrestling in the early 90s, and I really enjoyed professional wrestling when they did this draft back in, I think it was 2002. They had Raw and they had SmackDown, and these guys were there on their brands until they had the draft again. And it made me want to tune into SmackDown because they had Benoit, Guerrero, Fit Finlay, Batista, The Undertaker, Edge, Chavo, all these guys that weren't getting enough time on Raw, so we saw them on SmackDown. And the same thing goes for Raw. You saw your major players, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, etc., etc. They need to stay with the brand split, and they just need to stick with it, or they need to just dissolve it, because it's ridiculous. I'm tired of the wild card stuff. I'm tired of all that crap. I want two different brands, because if you're going to have two different champions, you need two different brands, plain and simple.
But what I don't understand is, and I'm sure when I record later tonight for my show tomorrow, I know I'm going to mention this because it's a big part of what I'm going to talk about on top of the Becky Lynch stuff. Don't you think they understand that this same method that they tried last year ruined pretty much Raw and SmackDown? It ruined the fucking Survivor Series because it didn't really make Survivor Series feel special whatsoever. Don't you think that maybe they should try something else? What is with these people? We're going back to the same thing over and over again, expecting something different to work out. We want genuine stories that are told over weeks and weeks and weeks. Don't you think if people were interested in the stories, they'd be more apt to watch the show? What good is a match, a one-off match? I'm not even going to use Baron Corbin because, no matter what you think about Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre, I think it's fucking terrible. I really do. Yeah. If you're going to bring Drew McIntyre to a SmackDown, or a Daniel Bryan, for example, to a Monday Night Raw, and have a Drew McIntyre versus Daniel Bryan, what sense does that make for a rating in a match now when there's no story, there's no build, there's nothing of investment there, and you're taking the match away for it potentially happening next time for when, for example, if Daniel Bryan gets drafted to Monday Night Raw, or Drew McIntyre gets drafted to SmackDown. The matches are happening, and when they happen in the future, it's not going to mean as much. Why don't they just build stories and stop this fucking one-off bullshit about, we're going to give you a star-making match here or a big marquee match here just for the sake of a rating? Why?
I agree with you. And my thing is that like if I could, my response to that is if I could throw up that Michael Jordan gif where it's like, stop it, get help. That's what it should be. Stop it. Like just stop this nonsense. We want to invest in characters. We want to invest in professional wrestlers. And if they're all in the same brand, we're never going to be able to do that because they're going to get lost in the shuffle. Monday Night Raw is too long as it is. It's 3 hours. Sometimes it's barely watchable. And SmackDown, at times you're just like, what is going on here? So they need to just focus on SmackDown and focus on Raw and keep those rosters completely separate. And like when John Cena got called over when he got drafted to Monday Night Raw, everyone was like, holy, John Cena is, and then Batista got drafted to SmackDown. It makes things interesting. And in this current time, why haven't they announced the draft? It would take up so much TV time.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's really frustrating to me. You know, I love the company so much, but at the same time, I fucking hate them. I hate the people who are in charge. I don't think they have any logic. They don't make fun, or they don't make anything feel fun or special. They just want instant gratification. And, dude, I've been saying this. I don't know if I mentioned it to you or I mentioned it to LeBar when I seen him a handful of times in person. I don't know who I said it to. It might be new to you that it's coming from me here. But, man, if they want to end the brand split, you know, you don't have to end the brand split all the way. Keep the main roster the way it is with the heavyweight division and the mid-card. Have those be separate divisions. If you really want to make these shows stand out and feel special, why don't you merge the women's divisions? Why don't you merge the tag team divisions and have those two divisions be a floater for Raw and SmackDown? It gives the shows more depth. It gives the shows more variety. The tag team division especially. You can't even have a fucking tag team division on Raw and call it a division with 3 teams. And you got the fucking Viking Raiders playing basketball. They go from the Viking Raiders to the Viking Experience, which is a fucking Disney, sounds like a Disney theme park attraction.
Right.
Now they're the Viking Globetrotters. It's like, what are you doing with these fucking guys? They're a legit tag team. Get them in a division where they can show you how great tag team wrestling could be. 2 teams on Raw. You got 4 teams on SmackDown. It's a fucking mess.
Yeah, I don't mind the brand splits if they really keep it solid to the brand splits. Like I said, so look at Survivor Series 2002. I was there at Madison Square Garden for that. You had Rob Van Dam, Kane, Booker T, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Chris Jericho for the World Championship, and you had Brock Lesnar versus The Big Show for the WWE Championship. 2 marquee matches. You don't need 1 championship, but you need to have brand differential. You never saw Shawn on SmackDown unless he was having a Raw or a WrestleMania match with a SmackDown talent. That's acceptable. We as fans can accept that. But when you start doing this, hokey pokey garbage where he's over here and she's over there and all this other stuff, we start to lose interest because then it's like, why am I watching Raw for, I'm just using an example, why am I watching Raw for Roman Reigns or Drew McIntyre when he's going to be on SmackDown on Friday and he's going to be a completely different storyline?
Yeah.
We want to invest in things. So let us invest. That's all I'm asking them. Let us invest.
Yeah, they did that with Kofi. Kofi won the WWE Championship last year. He shows up on Monday Night Raw. He's in a match with AJ. He's in a match with Seth Rollins. Then the next week he's in a match with AJ Styles. And then it's like, what the fuck you? Then you got Rollins and Kofi teaming up against AJ and the Club. It's like, what the fuck's going on? You're not making sense of anything. You're just putting big names out there for the sake of putting big names out there because you're too lazy to write for those big names. I hate it.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe the writers are to blame. Maybe they need to start investing their time and effort into characters and not just resting on their morals here.
Well, either way, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't think anything is going to happen immediately on Friday. It's going to happen on Monday. It's going to start on Monday. We got Drew McIntyre and Baron Corbin. Oh, my God. Just kill me now, please. And then you got the IC title tournament with Sami Zayn and him being stripped, which is, in my honest eyes, fucking ridiculous. WWE doesn't even follow their own rules. You got Brock Lesnar be out for 3 months and not fucking hear a peep from him. Sami Zayn wants to fucking take off because he's, he's being cautious of his health, coming to work in the middle of a pandemic. WWE sends out a company-wide memo. You're not going to be penalized for staying at home. If you want to stay home,
is that what it
stay
is,
home.
And
here they are. They're pretty much saying, fuck that. You can stay home, but we're going to take the Intercontinental Championship from you, and you're going to be punished anyway. So the memo that they sent out was bullshit. I feel like Sami Zayn's getting the short end of the stick.
Do we have confirmation that that's why Sami Zayn is home?
What else would it be?
He might be hurt. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, listen, and I'm not saying I have any inside knowledge here, but if Sami wants to control the narrative, then he should just say what he should say. I mean, I'm at home because I'm afraid for my health. I mean, Roman Reigns did it. Man,
They took the title from him. You know, it's like you can stay home and not be punished, but you know we're gonna take the IC title from you, and now he's not the IC champion. We're gonna have a small tournament, whether it's 4 people, 8 people. I don't know what WWE's gonna do. They could make it fun. You got guys like Sheamus, Jeff Hardy. You got Baron Corbin over there, Elias. I'm sure they'll nobody it up over on SmackDown. But why even give Sami Zayn the championship in the first place if you're kind of on the fence with him anyway?
I don't think they're on the fence with him. I think if he chose to stay home, the WWE has a right, with their intellectual property, which is the Intercontinental Championship, and they probably wanted Sami to defend it, et cetera, at Backlash maybe, and he was just like, no, I'm not going to do it. And they said, okay, no problem. You could stay home. We'll still pay you, et cetera, but we need our championship back because we need to find somebody who's going to carry the championship throughout the weeks and months of the coming year. And, I mean, if you were owning a wrestling promotion, JD, let's just say you owned House of Glory and one of your guys said, hey, I'm not going to be wrestling for the next 2 months. I'll see you in September. And he was your world champion. What would you do?
I mean, if we're in normal circumstances, I'd take the title from him, but we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic. It's like you can't really take the title from him when he's home. I mean, they want everybody to come to work. They want to act like everything is okay, but it's not okay at the same time. But we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, what difference does it make? It's like it exposes the fact that there's a political hierarchy in WWE. It's either, if it happened to, say, for example, Sami Zayn was Roman Reigns or Sami Zayn was AJ Styles. If AJ Styles was the Intercontinental Champion and he wanted to be home for 2 months, would they take the title from AJ Styles or Roman Reigns?
They might have. I mean, AJ was away for a while during this whole thing. After that match with Taker, I mean, he was gone for a month, maybe? Was it a month? Maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter. Yeah. But he was gone for a little bit, and I think that's the thing. I think they kind of see that maybe the stats are getting better with this coronavirus. Maybe they're getting worse. Who knows? Depending on where you're at. But I think Sami Zayn probably told him, "I'm not coming back till there's." All right, let's just say Sami Zayn told WWE manager, "I'm not coming back till there's a vaccine." Well, that could be 2021. So they got to do what they have to do. And they don't want Sami Zayn to hold on to the Intercontinental Championship because that's a major title and it's their intellectual property. So
here's another thing. It's a major title, but at the same time, it's not. It's like now all of a sudden you want to act like the Intercontinental Championship is special. Like, what the fuck is the Intercontinental Championship to SmackDown? You've treated it like fucking shit for God knows how long. Now you want the title back? The title wasn't doing anything on SmackDown now anyway. Now you want to use the title on SmackDown because, somebody realized and woke up, hey, we don't have the IC title on SmackDown. If you look at all the other major championships that are mid-card level in WWE, the IC title should be the second biggest title in the entire company, and it's the worst. It's like women's tag team title level. Not that bad, but you get my point. But if you look at all the other brands and their major championships, the U.S. title, is trash. I would even put that above the IC title. The Cruiserweight title is better than the IC title and has been treated better. The North American Championship is being treated like the IC title of old on NXT. Now they want to worry about the IC title.
First of all, I disagree with the Cruiserweight Championship being better treated than the IC Championship. I do agree that they have really smudged its legacy. I think they need to fix that. They need to figure that out. The IC Championship, before they had 2 main titles, when whoever held the IC title, whether it was Perfect, who didn't ascend to the main event championship level, Bret Hart, all these other guys, Shawn, Razor, Diesel, I mean, the list is endless. They became main event world champions at time, and I think that's what they need to do. So, I think it's a shame that they have done what they've done with the Intercontinental Championship, but maybe they get a different hopefully things change is what I'm hoping for, because that title should be cemented as one of the best, and it's a shame what they've done. I believe, JD, that the NXT and AEW rankings or ratings are in, and I think AEW won by 50,000 viewers.
Yep,
so and they were down.
Yeah, I see it in the chat. AEW 654,000 to NXT 604,000. I think both shows were down from last week, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I don't know, and that doesn't really bode well for. I mean, I honestly do think that both shows will be back up when things go back to normal. But being that we're 1 week out, a week and a half out from Double or Nothing, and AEW got a lesser rating this week than they did last week, that's pretty shitty for AEW.
Well, I think it's just we kind of got a bunch of announcements last week about AEW and where they were going with Double or Nothing and all that other stuff. And this was the first time in weeks that we saw Matt Hardy live, and it's the first time we saw an AEW show live. So I think there's going to be that, that new feeling. And I think when they get in front of a crowd, I think they could actually do the things they want to do. I think AEW will get back to the numbers they were doing. But yeah, it's scary. I mean, all this stuff is scary, but you would think people are trying to absorb as much content as they possibly can, but they're really not, which is strange.
No, they're really not. I don't know what people are doing with their times. I don't know. Maybe everybody's in the same boat as me. They can't watch this show or these shows the way that they're portrayed because it's a little bit. It's more depressing than it really is. I don't know, but there's so much feeling around the empty arena shows, and there's a lot of feeling on AEW, NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. But, the shortage of news, man, I feel like it's just as busy now as it ever has been for pro wrestling. With the news coming out of all these companies, it's like, workload for guys like me and Solid Monster and Justin and everybody else that has got a podcast, Wrestling Inc. Seems like we're all kind of thriving with the amount of fucking information that's being just released every day. It's crazy.
Well, there's nothing else that they can do besides release information or build matches or do this and do that, or talk about new signees or anything else like that. So yeah, that's what's the cause of all this. And realistically, you know what? I've seen some people on Twitter who have taken. Are you watching tonight's show? No, I will not watch any live wrestling program while the pandemic's going on.
Yeah.
So it's interesting the way people react, but to each their own.
And finally, guys, the main event of NXT last night. Quickly, Matt Riddle. He went one-on-one with Timothy Thatcher. This was a really good ground-based match for about 12 minutes. And we got the ending with Matt Riddle winning in 12 minutes. So the ending happened here where Riddle went for a floating bro, which Thatcher got the knees up. Thatcher put on a quick Fujiwara armbar reverse, but then Thatcher put it on again. So Riddle tried to get out of it. Another ankle lock. Riddle threw shots to try and break the hold. Riddle, out of nowhere, rolled up Thatcher for a 3 count, and he kept the ankle lock on. And it looks like we're getting another match. Do you see these two going at it again at the pay-per-view?
Yes, I think you get a submission match between these two, and
that could be fun.
Yeah, I think it will be, and I think this will showcase both Riddle and Thatcher's, abilities, and I think it's a good launching pad for Thatcher, and it's a good exclamation point for Riddle here, and I'm looking forward to it. I didn't ask you this, but did you watch speaking of Smash Mouth, did you watch Dark Side of the Ring with LOD or no?
I did. I watched actually back to back. I watched that, and I thought it was great. And man, it's like, I loved LOD. I loved Demolition. I loved the tag team division back in the early day, growing up with the WWF. But man, to see the rise and the quick descent, it just the way the documentary made it feel is like it was almost like they hit the peak of like being the greatest ever, and then literally out of nowhere, it's like they crumbled right before our very eyes. You know?
I thought it was very informative because I did not know Hawk was inebriated during that SummerSlam 92 match.
Me neither. That was new. I'm like, holy shit, I did not know that.
I went back and watched that match, and you could tell he was not all there, and you could tell that Animal was pissed. But I had no idea that he was under the influence of anything. And you could tell because they were set to have a big, big, big match. And you could tell that when they were the second or third match, I was just kind of like, what the heck? But as a kid, I really didn't put 2 and 2 together. I thought they were just trying to get the crowd off their feet. But that was interesting. And the other things with like the Hawk and draws and all that other stuff, I thought it was very informative. I'm excited for Owen Hart, but I do think the Road Warriors, I think there could have been more divulged. This was kind of one of the episodes where I was kind of like, there's more here to this, but I think Animal is going to probably keep things very close to the vest, and that's because it's his best friend who's no longer with us.
It's crazy, man. You look back at that '92 SummerSlam. I did not know that about Hawk in that match with Money Inc. And then you look back and realize what Bret Hart said about British Bulldog, how he had to pull British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith through that match, and he was fucked up during that match. It's like, what the fuck was going on back in the day? The opening match and the closing match of that show was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Animal was talking about how like there was some sort of drug that they were taking that kept you high for like 8 hours, and they probably both were on it. No one's ever talked about the British Bulldog being on it, but it's interesting, and maybe that's why Vince hasn't gone back to London for a pay-per-view, a major one at least.
I know Drew McIntyre's pushing for it. I would love it. I've never been. I think
it should happen. I've been to Wembley Stadium. It's fantastic. I went to for a football game, and I would love to go back for a wrestling event. So, that's just something. Somebody asked. I just popped up here when I was going to say something else. Somebody asked what my beverage of choice is. It's tequila. I mean, I don't know.
Hey, Guardian of
millions
Chaos. What Drew's beverage of choice is? Tequila.
Yes.
I actually watched The Undertaker Part 1, too, of The Last Ride, right after I watched Dark Side of the Ring. I thought it was fucking fantastic. I can't wait for Part 2. And it's curious. I'm curious to know what your take is. Is this leading to The Undertaker's literal last ride? Is this the end of the line for him, the last year he wrestles?
Yeah, what's interesting about this is if he's very telling. He's a very telling human being, and you could tell that when he said what he said, I'm either going to go out on my shield or I'm going to give a match that the Undertaker deserves at WrestleMania, or I'm going to go out on my shield. That I think that's very telling. I think Taker's going to look for one more match with somebody who can get a good match with, and I think that'll be it. Yes, because this is the first time we've really seen a lot of in-depth stuff with Taker, and it's 2020, so his character will never die.
No.
And it's his legend will always live on. But I think we're at the end, and I think he wants his story told, and I think the WWE is giving it to him. It's almost like that CM Punk DVD we got where Punk said, "No, I want to control majority of what you're putting on this, including the music," and that was one of the best DVDs they've ever produced. And I think this is something for Taker. I think WWE saw how well the Michael Jordan series is doing on ESPN, which is fantastic, The Last Dance. And I think they're trying to capitalize on that as well. And what better person than the Undertaker?
And it's funny too. I was watching it, and the first scene is a private jet, and he's getting off, and everything was filmed from 2017 up until current day for this documentary. And I remember, I think I asked Sean Ross Sapp a question via DM, and he threw something out at me. He's like, WWE films literally everything. So the fact that I seen that, and I'm like, oh shit, he's actually right about that. They had film from fucking 2017. They probably knew they wanted to do this back then. It's just so crazy that they operate the way that they do, and we're starting to see the opening of the Undertaker. When back in the day we looked at him as like this fucking comic book character almost, and it's like it's at a point where I don't even mind anymore being an adult. It's like I want to know who the fucking man behind the character is because I loved him so. He's like. Him and Shawn Michaels, always, everybody asks me, who's your favorite wrestler? Undertaker with Shawn Michaels. It's like, I don't mind him opening up like that because I want to know. He's got so much in 25, 30 years that he's been there that who the fuck wouldn't want to know,
Right, and I think it's a great story to tell, and I think, to your point, I think some of this is Taker's film crew, but yes, the WWE has a constant camera rolling at Gorilla. They have a constant camera rolling pretty much everywhere inside the building that they're in. And yes, to Sean's point, they film pretty much everything. Yes.
So that was pretty much it on the NXT coverage, guys. We got some super chats before we get out of here. I want to run through these real quick. Sean Planet Stasiak, 199 super chat. He asked both Drew and I thoughts on Elijah Burke and Marcus Corvan. That is a weird, bizarre question. I don't know where the fuck those two names came from. Never a big fan of either one of those guys. What do you say?
I think Marcus Corvan had a lot of potential, and I think that they just floundered with him. And I think his main thing was like a half-ass version of the spear. But I think he could have done some major things, but just didn't happen. Elijah Burke, meh.
Yeah. What do you think of the promos that EC3 has cut, says Zachary R. Francis. Thank you for the $2 super chat, bro. I think they're great. You can tell he's super excited to get out there and just break free from the WWE prison. I think he's going to do well, and I think he's going to end up in AEW.
Yeah, I think EC3 is going to be fantastic, and I think he will shine wherever he ends up because I think hopefully he gets creative freedom. So, yeah.
We got Marky Munitions with a $10 super chat. He says, JD, love the content. You've helped me through a lot in the rough times, and I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that, Marky. Thank you so much, man. Jacob Donnelly with a $2 super chat. Love the new setup with these co-reviews. I got Sal Rex to thank. He just shot me an email.
Somebody likes it, huh?
There you go. He shot me an email, and we got a dual layout here with Drew and I, and hopefully we do the same for AEW, but I'm glad you joined the reviews, man. JP5150, $5 super chat. He says, WWF In Your House was always my favorite pay-per-view. The Attitude Raw in the late 90s, my favorite will always be Mind Games. Well, that's exactly what Drew said earlier, and I think as far as the match for that main event, the main event match with Shawn Michaels and Mankind, one of the greatest matches to me of all time. So we got a $5 super chat there from JP. Thank you, man. Ball Coach 1028, $5 super chat. Hey, JD, huge fan and a longtime follower. I would love to be a sponsor for your show. How do I go about doing that? And what is the best way to chat? Ball Coach, you can email me at JDfromNY206@Yahoo. So just shoot me an email. It's in my Twitter handle or in my Twitter description. So if you want to do that. Steve with a £5 super chat. Charlotte is not even close to the best women's wrestler in WWE. There are better. Sasha, Bianca, Io, Shayna, Asuka, Toni Storm are all better. What do you say?
Listen, buddy, this is my hill to die on, okay?
See what you started?
Yes.
We got another one from Steve. Obviously, it would be a triple threat with Charlotte, Io, and Rhea, with Io taking the pin because they have to protect the android, he says. Charlotte reigns. We'll
Charlotte reigns. Wow.
Well, look at that. We'll see what happens.
You know what you need? You know what that guy needs? He needs to be hydrated. Go get yourself some Pedialyte, brother. Cherry is my choice. JD's gonna get a bunch of these. Pedialyte is hopefully gonna sponsor the podcast sooner rather than later. So stay hydrated, everybody.
Yeah, stay hydrated, Steve. Thank you so much, man. Clash with the Spreecies, $4.99 super chat. I think Brody Lee will win the title. They had a rivalry from the GC or the GZW or GC. I don't know. CCW, I think it was.
It's CZW, I think. Combat Zone Wrestling.
CZW. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's his turn to shine, and Moxley can go for the TNT title. Nah, I think Moxley's going to win.
Do you think that's going to happen? You think that Brody Lee's going to win the championship next Sunday?
No, I think Moxley's retaining.
Yeah, me too. They've already Brody Lee's got the championship, so that just screams to me that Moxley's getting the belt back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you got to keep an eye on MJF. MJF, they just threw the seed out there. MJF is undefeated in singles action. They're setting him up for a big heel run. He needs a big babyface to work off of. That obviously isn't Brody Lee, so we'll see what happens. If anything, I trust AEW in their creative decision. They haven't really let me down yet. We got another one from Steve. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Wildcard rule, invitational, and Vince is a genius. Yeah, sure. He also says Charlotte's attitude stinks from what I see. Remember her versus Sarah Logan. No selling a steel post shot. WWE apparently owed her the Rumble win. So there's Steve obviously isn't a fan of Charlotte Flair.
That's okay. His point is he made some good points. I mean, I bet you if you lined up 100 wrestling fans and asked what they feel about the wild card rule or whatever this other thing is, the brand invitational, they would crap all over it. It's dumb. Stop it.
Yeah.
Get help.
Yeah, we ranted on that. I'm sure I'll rant again on Friday when I record the podcast later. And finally, I'll leave this one up to Drew before we get out of here. Undisputed Era with a $5 super chat. Why do you think WWE doesn't like giving creative freedom?
I don't think the WWE doesn't like to give creative freedom. I think what happens is that they can't control the narrative at times, and that's what you need to understand, that these characters that they invest time, money, and effort into, they want to profit as much as they possibly can. This is the business side of this, and I know it's unfortunate, but these guys like Brock and The Rock, who got over on their own and then became megastars and could literally go wherever they wanted, and they didn't need WWE. It's something.
Well, the thing is, man, with creative freedom, it's to me, I just think, it goes back to what I said. Vince McMahon's a control freak, and he's going to try and control everything. And until he's gone, I don't think his vision will ever line up with anybody because of who he is. And Triple H, I feel like you said before, is more in tune with everybody's wants, needs, and desires. Fan and wrestler alike. I think he's more in sync with what's going on, and Vince clearly doesn't give a shit about anybody but his wallet.
Let me ask you a quick question. Just a quick question for you and your fans. With all this Sting rumors, do you think Sting is AEW bound?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to show up. It might not be a double or nothing, but I think he shows up and does something. I don't think he wrestles, but I mentioned last night I think I could see him in a authority figure role.
Yes.
On Dynamite.
Love it. Well, thanks, guys. Thank you, JD.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We're getting out of here, and I will see you on Off the Script on Friday, and you can catch me every day of the week here on YouTube, and I want to thank Drew for showing up. Drew, thank you so much, man, and I will see you all later. Thank you, guys.
Man, stay safe.